Bonjour et bienvenue à Gourmet, the channel where I cook my way through all the cookbooks I own and have never used. We are still working with mastering the art of French cooking, which, behind the scenes, this is the first time I've picked it up since filming all of the holiday recipes. And today we're going to be making an apple tart. Um, I'm excited. This one sounded pretty good. It's kind of that time of year where apple pie, sure, apple pie is an all year round thing, but I always kind of associate it a little bit with the holidays for some reason. Um, but I'm excited to try this one. I've never made a tart like this. We've got to make some modifications along the way, but let's get started. So, we're going to start this recipe by making a pie dough, a sweet short paste dough. The reason I have the book here is because I don't really understand the directions. Let me see if I can kind of get them up close. Okay, so you see how it says proportions for 1 cup, and then it goes into like 2/3 cup flour. I don't know what that means, and I was looking at it online, and it turns out nobody seems to know what that means. Some people said their books have a different measurement. Some people didn't. I don't know. um, but basically, our recipe for the apple tart says to use a 10 to 11 inch um, shell, I guess, like kind of mold. So we're going to be using proportions for 2 cups flour. So we're just timesing the recipe by 2 and hoping that that works. I am making this the night before I use this recipe. So if this is totally different than the rest of the video, that's why. but but I knew the dough needed to rest, so I figured let's let it rest overnight and make my life a little easier. So I'm going to start out by measuring 1 1/3 cups of flour. Oh, okay. Third cup of flour. And then we need, what, 2 tablespoons of sugar. Tablespoon. Oh no. I haven't even had anything to drink. It's just been a really bad day at work. Oh my gosh. This is going to be tough. Okay. So 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Set that to the side. Then we need an 2/8 teaspoon salt or a 1/4 teaspoon. Yes. I'm going to measure out 3 tablespoons of cold water. It doesn't look like much, but this is our cold water. Now I'm going to get out our fat for this recipe, and I went ahead and pre-measured it, and I've just had it sitting in the fridge, so it's ready to go. We needed 8 tablespoons of chilled butter and 3 tablespoons of vegetable shortening. So I just used Crisco as my vegetable shortening, and then just regular butter. I try not to use the European style butter for the baking because it has such a different fat content that I haven't figured out how to use. So I stick with just the regular American style. But I'm going to go ahead and just dump that in there. And then we are just going to mix this in by hand and hopefully get a dough. You can do this in the food processor, it says, but we all know I don't own one. So here we go. Here we are. I'm just going to get these guys going, I guess. And this is, we've made doughs similar before. We're just kind of trying to scrunch up the butter and fat into small pieces and coat everything with flour. Here's our dough. It came together really quickly, actually. You might be able to see there's a little bit of butter still not fully incorporated, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in plastic wrap. So here's the other part that I'm a little confused about with the recipe. And I don't know if I said it right or not in the first part, but the recipe doesn't actually say to let this sit. However, reading online and based on some of the other recipes in this book, we should let this sit and rest, and a lot of pie doughs seem to be that way. So I'm letting it rest overnight in the fridge, But like I said, I don't actually know if that's correct. The recipe just says make the dough and mold into the shell. So yeah, I don't know. It's so awful. And I know what you're thinking. Like, why don't you just go out and buy a tin, like one of those false bottom tins? That's because I didn't want to spend the money on it. And I don't think everybody has those. So, the point of the channel is to kind of cook with what we have. Occasionally that means buying something extra or anything like that. But today didn't feel like one of those cases. And now I'm second guessing that. But what I've done is I have sprayed this cake tin because I need to replace a whole bunch of them. So this is like the best one I have right now. But I've sprayed the whole thing with Pam, and then I've just lined it poorly with parchment paper, and I'm hoping that that's going to help us just kind of pop out the dough. Already not good at putting dough into tins, as we've seen many times. So I just don't have high hopes. But we only have one shot at this. So I'm really worried about it. I am really worried. I'm just I don't think this is really quite in frame, but I am taking my rolling pin and I'm trying something because this is a really weird way to do it. And I'm just going to roll the dough over the tin. And then what I'm hoping is that I can just kind of pick it up a little and gently plop it in. And of course we want it all the way around the sides. Like that. It feels like it's a little thin, but I don't know if that's a bad thing. I'm just gonna bump up the side a little bit. Because it's supposed to be baked freestanding almost with the filling in it. That's just what worries me about the edges. So I'm trying to take some of the extra dough before we cut it all off and just squish it on some of the thinner parts that I'm seeing. I'm just going to try to level this as best as possible, as it should. Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to take this. I'm going to poke it. The recipe does say to line this with more parchment paper and weigh it down. So I just don't know how to do that best because I don't really have beans or anything, and that's what you typically use. Okay, so I don't have anything that I see that I can use, so I'm just going to poke it a lot. And if this puffs up, this puffs up. In the oven at 400 for about 10 minutes, and then we'll take it out and let it cool. Okay, so we've just taken it out of the oven. Here's what our pie crust looks like. It definitely fell a lot. So that's not good. That's not the recipe. That's definitely me. But yeah, we're going to set this to the side. We'll see if when it cools slightly, if we can take it out and bake it outside of the tin. If not, I'm just going to bake the whole thing in the tin, and this is just not going to be a freestanding tart. We need to use some golden delicious apples per the recipe. Now, I can't say that these are my favorite apple by any means, but that's what the recipe says, so that's what we're doing. And we're going to core, peel, and quarter the apples till we have 3 cups to set aside. So I don't know the best way to do this. I'm not good at peeling, so maybe it's best to cut the apple first. We'll see. This is going to take some experimenting on my end. But basically, I'm going to go ahead and quarter these, and then I'm going to take out the middle like that. Just cut on diagonal. There we go. Hey, you know what? I'm pretty proud of myself. I don't normally do that well. And then I'm going to, I guess, start to peel this. I don't know if I should have peeled when it was full or not, but you guys have seen me peel. I am not good at this. I I don't really understand peeling. And then we need to cut these into strips. This says 1/8 inch lengthwise. So what, like this? That feels like it could be fine enough. And we're just doing this until we have just about 3 cups. Okay, so here we are with our apples sliced. That took just about an apple and a half. We have 7 apples total, and that made about 4 pounds. So an apple and a half is about 3 cups. Now we need to, in this bowl with our apples, we're going to add a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. So here's 1. Here's 2. A teaspoon of lemon juice. So I just have this like store-bought lemon juice. And I'm just going to try to measure out. I think that's a teaspoon. I have a spoon to the side. And I'm going to mix all this up real quick. And the sugar, I have a piece of peel. But the lemon juice, I think, should stop our apples from browning. I think it's the whole point. And the sugar should help them get a little sweet and soft. I think this is kind of like macerating apples, but honestly, I don't quite remember what that is. So, but there we go. These are all nice and coated. I'm going to finish peeling, quartering, slicing the rest of these apples. So I'll see you in like 20 minutes. 30 minutes later, we've done it. Okay, so we've got all of our apple slices in the pan here. We are going to cover these and cook these over low heat for about 20 minutes, stirring occasionally. And it's been just over 20 minutes. Our apples are looking nice and soft. You can see they're kind of turning into mush. So basically, we're kind of like making like an applesauce for this. But now we have to make the, I guess you'd call it sauce. I don't know exactly the word, but we're gonna start off with 2/3 cup of sugar. So let me go ahead and measure out. See if we can get it on the first try. We've not got a lot of space. I don't know why that bowl is. I've decided to do that, but 2/3 cup, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna set that bowl there. Now we need a 1/4 cup of rum. So this recipe gives you some options. It says a 1/4 cup of Calvados, which is apparently an apple brandy, rum or cognac, or a tablespoon of vanilla extract. So I'm going for a 1/4 cup of rum. This is the rum that I just have on hand. So that's what I'm using. We're going to measure a 1/4 cup in here because this is too big of a measuring cup. So, okay, we're going to have to do this down here. Perfect. Okay. Great. We did it. So in our bowl to the side, we've got the sugar, we have the rum. Now we need a 1/3 cup of apricot preserves, forced through a sieve. I'm not doing that part. I went ahead and just bought apricot preserves. I'm sure this is to make it less chunky, but I think this is going to be chunky anyways, so I'm not going to force it through a sieve, but we are going to measure out, a 1/3 cup. So we'll do a big spoon and another spoon, maybe a little more. If we can avoid a piece of apricot, that's probably best. Okay. So here's our 1/3 cup of preserves. So here's our 3 tablespoons of butter. I know this is a European style butter, which I know earlier in the video I said I don't really like to use when baking, but this is what I had, and something tells me this probably isn't supposed to be cold, but I forgot to take it out, so it's going in our little concoction. And then lastly, and this is an optional ingredient for this, we need a half teaspoon of cinnamon and or the grated rind of a lemon or orange. I don't have a lemon or an orange, but I do have some ground cinnamon, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a half teaspoon. We'll call that there. I'm going to stir my apples a little bit once again. I think that's good. You can kind of see a lot of that juice has kind of come out now. And then we're going to give this a stir. And this is why I think the butter is probably supposed to be melted, because you're supposed to stir this all together. But the butter's going to melt when we put it in there, so I'm not really that worried about it. And it says to beat these together, which is essentially what I'm doing with that giant stick of butter in the way. Oh, sorry. We're supposed to beat in these ingredients. Okay, I read that wrong. I kept reading that as beat that together. That's not right. We're supposed to beat in the ingredients. So we are making like an applesauce. I guess we could have just added them in here then. I wasted a bowl for nothing. Oh well. We're going to beat in these ingredients. So you can see we definitely are making like an applesauce. And we have little bits of the apricots in there, which I think is probably what we were supposed to get out through the sieve, but that's okay. I'm not holding myself to that. Our crust looks terrible anyway, so if our insides are a little extra chunky, I'm not going to be mad. Now that we have everything mixed in, we are just going to turn this on high. And the recipe says to boil, stirring until the applesauce is thick enough to hold in a mass in the spoon. So I'm assuming when we turn it to the side, that's what she's talking about. I gotta say, this smells delicious. I've turned this up and we'll get this going. So it's been just about 20 minutes. I think we're at the consistency she wants it at from the cookbook. You can see like it just kind of globs together. I think that's what she meant. I went ahead and turned this off. This is our pie crust. When I was trying to take out earlier, I cracked it in half, so I'm not removing it from the pie tin. I know this is a tart. It's supposed to be freestanding, but now it's a pie, so that's fine. We're just going to take this. I also think this is great because I've lost some definition on the edge, and we'll need that to hold all this in place. But this smells really good. I think this is going to be really interesting. I'm excited to eat this. Let me go ahead and get the rest of this out of here. Okay. Just gonna scoot that a little bit off the burner. And I'm gonna just spread this a little evenly around as best as possible. Look at us go. Okay, so these are the apples we've had from the beginning that have been soaking in the lemon juice and sugar. They kind of cut their color for the most part, so I think we did that right. Now, this is the trick that we just know I'm not good at. We're supposed to layer the apples kind of in a spiral. So I'm just going to do my best. And we'll see how this goes. I'm already not doing good. I haven't spiraled it at all. But we'll start the spiral here. I'm not sure we're going to really spiral this anyways. Or maybe they're supposed to overlap more. This is... There we go. Said to make it look like the picture, and the picture has some overlapping a little more like this. So, there we go. We're just... And I'm determined to use all these apples, so if this doesn't look good, that's I'm gonna blame the apples and not me. Yay. Okay, I guess we'll scoot that in. We'll fill that in. Maybe I shouldn't use all the apples. Okay, that's close enough. I'm gonna try one. That was actually a pretty good apple. Here's our pie. And this is gonna go into the oven at 375 for about 30 minutes. So I'll see you guys when this is out of the oven. So our pie has just come out of the oven. Um, and the recipe says to brush with a half cup of apricot glaze. So we're keeping it in the tin, of course, because I don't trust it. But I've got some of the apricot preserves here that I've just kind of melted in the microwave. So not the same, but close enough. And we're just going to paint this on. And I gotta say that makes it look a lot more appetizing than really, really dry apples. uh, this has been kind of a whirlwind of a recipe, I gotta say. I'm excited to try, but I am like a little overwhelmed with it. I guess overwhelmed's not the right word. I don't know what word I'm searching for, but it feels like we've done a lot for this, and I just don't know if the payoff is gonna be. I'm gonna let this cool, and I'll see you guys when we're ready to try a bite. Let me show you our tart. So here she is. I had some trouble getting it out of the pan. You can see I cracked it all the way through. But I have served it with some ice cream that I made in my new Ninja Creamy. So I'm really excited about that. Uh, but let me go ahead and give this one a try. It smells good. I think it is going to be really good. The crust is definitely soft. That's really good. And with the ice cream, I mean, look at that. That's delicious. Okay, that's great. I do think I had some technical issues because I don't have the right kind of pan for this. Um, and I think I let my dough get a little too soft. So, as far as the actual dough of the tart goes, it tastes good, but I think you probably really do need that either like a tart ring or the like pan with the bottoms that pop out. And that's just something that not a lot of people have. Not everybody has those. That's something that you have to go out and get special. And I'm not about that life. So I think that kind of dings it quite a bit because I really did struggle. So I think if you kind of look at this more of like a pie instead of a tart, you'll be a little happier than I am with it. But I liked this one. I thought, oh, it's a great flavor. It's really good. I wasn't so sure about the apples going in to it just because Gala are really, or not Gala, Golden Delicious are just not my kind of apple, but they work really well in this. And it didn't take too long to come together, but it took long enough for me to think about maybe not making this again or figuring out how to make it easier because boy, I got to tell you, 30 minutes just to peel some apples. That's personal. That's just me, but I struggle with that. So overall, I think this one, I think I'm going to give it maybe like a 7. A 6.5 and 7 is kind of what I'm feeling, just because you do need I really do think you need the special equipment for the tart. And maybe somebody in the comments or somebody watching knows like a better way to do it than either having like the tart ring or the false bottom pan. But um, I don't know another way, and I cracked mine the way I did it. So hey, what can you do, right? But I really like this. The ingredients were easy to get. It was easy to come together. I hated peeling the apples. So that's the part of the recipe that I'm like, why? But I did like this one. I really did. I think probably all together it took like 2.5 hours to come together, and I don't think that's that bad for something like this. I know people with more skill can do it quicker, but I love this one. The taste is there. It's just some of the other things that I've mentioned that I'm really struggling with. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.